Do, do, do,
Says
do, do, do.
broadcast is live.
Yes, we are live.
Here
Oh,
we
yes.
go.
Here we go. And if you are here, we're going to wait for a little bit. We're going to give people a little bit of time to join us, to jump on into this conversation. Uh, I don't know. I see that one is there. It's probably one of us. But we're going to have a good time with this conversation today, and we're not going to be long. I'll wait. I was going to introduce you, but I might as well wait until we have somebody here. And I see one. If you are here,
Ooh.
say something in the chat so we can say hello, hello, hello,
Hello. What's up?
hello, and how are you? So today you saw the topic, we are going to have a conversation about, let me go to this. Okay. Today we are going to talk about, I know I'm waiting, I'm trying to give people a chance to come in just to make sure that we have everyone.
I know. I hope I can see the comments too.
I know, I hope so, because that's the best part. That's the best part of the video. So
Yeah.
you know what? We're not gonna wait too much longer. We're a minute in. And if you're here, just say something in the chat. Hello, just wave. And we are thankful to have you here. So if you're here, just say hello. Oh, and I see somebody here, John Paul or Paul. Hey, how are you this morning? Or actually, it's afternoon. I don't know what
Oh,
I
hey,
see.
hey, hey. All right. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's afternoon. So good afternoon. I don't know what time it is in your area, but here it's 1:47, and she is in the West Coast. She is on the West Coast, so it's morning there. So perhaps you are
Yeah.
too. So John, Paul, just feel free, jump in, kick your legs back, relax, jump into this conversation. If you have something to say, we'd love to hear it. I hope you're having a great Friday to this point. My co-host today, my lovely sister, is Adrian Brody right here. And the people that are watching a replay, if you're going to watch a replay, don't forget to give that thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, why not? It's free. Just press that button. Just subscribe because we're going to have some good conversations starting with right now. And I set my alarm, you guys, so that I won't be past 2:30 or 2:40. So we're going to keep this real short, quick. You're in Canada? Oh, good. Good to have you.
Oh,
Canadian,
wow. We got a
somebody from our
Canadian
north.
on here.
Yeah, and we'd like to already connect it. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you. So listen, I want make sure if you have anything to say about this conversation, just chime in. We'll be, here looking, and we'll be here listening because that's what we're going to talk about: how to have a good conversation. So let me just get down to it. I was reading a Bible scripture this morning because I read my Bible app. I try to read it every day. I mean, that does not happen every day. However, I make an attempt, and today when I was reading it, I saw on the Bible app this verse that came up, and it made me want to do a live today. It made me want to do a live on this topic. So let me know how you feel about it. And I have Adrian Brody here to help me move the conversation along and to have this conversation. Some of you know her, and some of you, this will be your first time seeing her. So, say hello to her, welcome her to Geeky Girls Journal Dreamers.
Hi,
Okay.
guys. Oh, dreamers.
Is there anything you would like to say before we get started, Adrian?
No, I just want to say hi.
Okay. It's so
Hi,
funny.
everyone.
I almost called you your nickname.
I
I
know.
almost did, and
I
I'm
know.
like,
I felt it coming out, but then you checked yourself, and I was like, oh, okay.
check yourself before you wreck yourself. Yeah, I had to check myself. Yeah, I know where it was going to go after that. So we're going to get started. So the Bible scripture, John Paul, that I was reading was from James 1:19, and it says, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note." Hey, Frank G. How you doing, Frank G? You remember Adrian Brody. I'm going to
What's
continue.
up, Frank G?
Hey,
I
Frank G.
remember him.
Frank G, you'll know this, Frank G, because you also love Jesus. So the scripture I was reading was James 1:19, and it said, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry." I know you're going to have something to say about this, Frank G. So I was reading it, and as I was reading it, it just made me think about some of the past conversations I've had, and how I responded to those conversations, and what I would do differently if I had the chance to redo, if I had the chance to do them over again, what I would say, how I would do it. You know how you just replay things in your mind, Frank and John. So that's kind of what happened with me this morning. And so when I did that, I called my sister immediately, and I was like, "Hey, you want to go on a live with me today?" And
Mhm.
she's here, and I
Yep,
told her, I
yep.
said, and I told her what happened. I told her I was just reading that scripture, and then I was just like, I need to do a live one because some of you all know listening is something I said that I struggle with, just listening. Hey, fabulous sis, I struggle sometimes with listening. Like I'm pretty good at articulating myself and telling people the way I feel about things, but sometimes I feel like if I'm in the middle of a conversation, did I understand that person correctly? Did I, did they relay it in a way that I understood it so that I can respond back in a way that, makes sense, or in a way that we can have a more effective communication.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where, what led me to this live. And Adrian, as I said, is going to help me along. Hey, the bug bouncer. Hello. So that's what
Oh,
we
I like that name, the bug
the
bouncer.
bug bouncer. Yeah, I think I met you yesterday. I think I met you yesterday, didn't I? Maybe at Jay Jordan's live or somebody. I was at so many lives yesterday. I can't really pinpoint it, but I think it was Jay Jordan. So welcome. Glad to have you six here. So yeah, everybody in the chat, let's talk in the chat. If you have anything you want to add to this conversation, please feel free to, because you're my co-host as well. She's here on the panel, but you're also my co-host. It was hard. Okay, Frank G says it was hard for me at a time. What was
Yeah.
hard for you at a time, Frank G? I'm guessing. Hey,
Yeah,
BSC.
I'm guessing listening was probably hard because we are quick to respond and I'm with you, Frank G. It took me a while to learn, but when you learn, to me, I feel better being able to listen. Like I feel more controlled. I feel like I'm in more control. Does that sound right?
No, yeah, it does.
I say I feel like I'm in more control. It does sound right?
Yeah, he said
More
listening. You're
control
right.
because not only are you listening to hear what the person has to say,
That's
but
it.
you're able to respond based off of what they're saying instead of just waiting to reply. Because most of the time we're just like waiting for that person to stop talking so we can just say whatever we want to say and didn't even hear what the person said. And sometimes if you're not actively listening because it's an action, you can say something that that person already said and they're like, okay, I know you're not I know you're not listening
I know
because
you're not
I
listening.
just said that. And you'd be
Hmm.
like, oh man, dang, yeah, I wasn't listening. But yeah, you got
Right.
to be active doing that.
Yeah, you summed up what I was going to say. I mean, I could probably close this down afterwards because you literally said what what I was going to say. But I mean, we'll also, okay, that's your first thing. We'll also elaborate. Frank G is laughing at us. I also elaborate because after I read that, I just started thinking, and I was the same thing you say, Adrian. I'm still working on my listening skills. I'm a much better listener than I used to be, because what
Hmm.
I would say is that while somebody was talking, I would be thinking about what I'm going to say next to that person. I'd be thinking about what I'm going to say because I wanted to be prepared to, just
Yeah, say whatever
say
you
whatever's
have
on my
planned to
mind.
say.
Yeah, to
Hmm.
say whatever I plan to say and whatever was on my mind. So I'm sitting here, they're talking, and I thought I was listening. And a lot of times I think I'm listening, but at the same time, I'm also, hey, Steve Gilmore, how are you? I'm also checking in peace. I'm also trying to figure out what my response to that person is going to be.
Yep.
So I found out that I was not effectively listening. And when I thought I was listening, I was missing pieces of what they were trying to say.
Yep.
So what I started trying to work on is, and you all can say in the comment section, how you listen and how you've made changes or whatever it is you want to reply on what we're talking about. So what I learned to do was try to focus on that person, because I mean, sometimes I'm so distracted. My mind is, I'm thinking about what I'm making for dinner. I'm thinking about whose appointment I have to schedule. I'm thinking about who I have to pick up next. So I'm just divided in my thought process and not listening,
Yeah.
not giving that person my undivided attention. So what I found was that if I look at that person and just try to focus in on that person and what they're saying, and sometimes I still
Hmm.
veer off and I'm like, I just see their lips moving. So
Yeah.
and so I say I agree with you.
Because sometimes someone is saying a little too much.
Yes, sometimes people are saying a little too much, and you might
Ah,
just,
you're like,
just be distracted.
okay, I got the point.
I got the point. Have you ever heard of beating a dead horse? I know you have. We grew up in the same household. Frank says, watch,
Mhm.
listen, observe what they are saying. Yeah, Frank, because I agree with my sister. Some people can't, they have a tendency to beat a dead horse. They'll say it and they keep saying, and you're like, okay, I got it. And I
Mhm.
found with me, when that happens, I'm just like, now I'm almost in a retaliatory state where I'm just ready to fire back, because they're just going and going. And also, let me ask you all a
Mhm.
question. I just thought about something. When I was in college, and this is how I know I was not the best listener. When I was in college, there was this girl in my class. I'll never forget. Her name was Quanda. Quanda from Morgan. Interesting name, right? Quanda. This is how she had an impact on me because I always remember her name. But she, to me, would talk so slow. She would talk so slowly. I'm a fast talker, and she would talk really, really slow. And that's why also this Bible verse stood out: be slow to speak. Like, she was speaking really, really slow, and it used to aggravate me. It used to really aggravate me. I know that sounds a little harsh, but it did aggravate me because, hey, official Jamia, because I was just waiting for her to get to the point and to spit it out. And I'm like, come
Mhm.
on, like, what are you saying? Just say it. What's taking so long?
Yeah.
And I learned that in talking to people, I can be impatient, and now I'm not 100% there. I'm working on all this stuff, you guys. So just please don't think I act like I'm a know-it-all with this topic. I'm not. I'm a works in progress. But like I said, what I found out was that I was impatient. I still am impatient in conversations to a certain degree because I'm waiting for that person to come on, tell me what you're saying. I want detail, but I also want you to get to the point of what you're trying to say. And she would just
Yeah.
drag her words, and I found myself jumping in sometimes when she's talking, like trying to finish her sentences. And I'll do that often if somebody is talking really slow, in my opinion. They might not be talking slow to them, but they're talking slow to me, and they're not saying it fast enough. And I'm just like, because
Right.
I'm
Let me
thinking
just
about,
finish your sentence.
let me finish your sentence. Let me help you out because you're
Right.
obviously not getting it out fast enough for me. You're not saying it
Mhm.
fast enough, and you're having a conversation with me. So let me just be direct enough to tell you, come on, like, what's taking so long? And that person may be trying to formulate their thoughts. They may be trying to think about what they're saying. And I'm just bringing all this to your attention because maybe this is why they speak slowly. I just speak fast. I have like 100
Yeah.
thoughts in my head at one time, and I'm trying to articulate them in the best way possible. But in her case, for example, I guess she was thinking about each word she wanted to say, and she was just kind of saying it in a pace that I didn't agree with. Doesn't mean,
Yeah.
she didn't work for somebody else. So
Yeah. I
Frank
I
G,
like I like the book of James because James is a realist. Like
oh,
he straight up just tells you what's going on, what we need to do, but and very consciously think about what you're doing. Because I know that even with my kids, when they're saying things, uh, some of my kids like speak slowly.
yes.
And I'm just like, just blurt it out. Like, just
Yeah.
ask me, what do you want? And they just take forever. But and that is from my end because I'm such in a rush and I'm always got things going on in my mind, always trying to get things done. And so if they're speaking at a certain pace and it's not fast enough for me because I'm like constantly moving,
Mhm.
then I'm like, well, what do you want? Just go ahead and tell me.
Yeah.
And then they feel rushed. And then later on, I feel bad because one, I rushed them to tell me what they were trying to say. And two, they may have wanted to tell me more, but me being so rude in a sense of, about it, trying to rush them, that they
Mhm.
probably didn't tell me everything they wanted to tell me. So, it's like you said earlier, like you could be missing bits and pieces of a story because you are in such a rush that you're not willing to hear everything that person wants to say, or you just miss some of the stuff that the person said. And it
Yeah.
could be very, very important information.
Very important information. I wanted to say
Mhm.
something what Frank G said. I don't know if you can see it, sister. I have a stepfather that is like that, who talks so much that when I asked him, I was still confused even after the conversation was over. You
Oh,
know what? That is a
oh,
great point, Frank G, because you run into. I see you, Wellness with Frugal Mama. Thank you for joining us. But yeah, so we're talking about having a good conversation. And Frank G, I've been in situations like that before too, where somebody was speaking and I thought I was engaged actively and having a conversation with them, but afterwards I left. I still felt empty after I left the conversation. Like, what did we just talk about? And
yeah.
what, and you feel like you missed some things, and I wish I could have said this, or I wish I could have said that, which was another point on here. So Frank G, I'm glad you actually brought that up. You all are right in my notes, just walking around. So we're all in this, we're all in sync with this. But when you have something that happens like that, what do you do, Frank G? If you say, tell us in the comment section, right? So Adrian, I want to, while Frank G is probably about to respond to anybody else, what do you think, like how do you get past that point? Because we're talking about how to have good conversations, and I know I'm
Hmm.
the same way, where if somebody is talking and I know I have an appointment to make or somewhere that I need to be, I'm like, I'm rushed, I want to have this conversation with you, I want to engage, but also I'm trying to be considerate of my time. So
Hmm.
I don't know, how do you think, if you think anything, how do you think we should go about it? Or somebody in the chat, like, how do you think? And then how do you think we could go about, like, I don't know, making that a better situation instead of rushing that other individual? Because I'll tell you all,
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
give you
I think you just said it. For one, are we doing listening exercises right now? I'm listening to you talk and I'm letting you finish and then I proceed.
yes, you are. That is,
We are doing our listening exercises right now.
I am
That's
so
how
proud of
good we
myself.
are.
Thank you for pointing that out. I'm so proud of you too, because you were actively engaged, when you look like it, at least, and you're listening.
Yes, I
And
was actively listening and I wanted to make sure that I heard everything you said so I wouldn't repeat it and I would
and
and
you
I
did.
wouldn't just say something that didn't make sense to what you just said.
See, look at us.
You
Look
know what I'm
at us
saying?
learning how
We
to
are
listen.
practicing what we're saying right now.
Yeah.
Okay, but to answer the question, typically when I'm listening and someone has a lot to say and I'm in a rush to do something, I will, and this took years of learning, of course, because I think the listening part comes with age, comes with maturity. I don't want to say age because there's some people that are beyond their years and they're younger, but maturity really has to sit in. But I will listen, and if if I don't have time to finish the conversation, I'll say, you know what you're saying is really good. And I want to continue this conversation, but I can't right now. Can we pick this up later? And that goes on to, later on when we have the conversation. But I do like the fact that when I'm listening, and this is a good tip for those who are, for all of us, just in remembrance when we're actively trying, listening to someone talk to us, that I feel like I'm learning more about that person when I'm actively listening, because we could be on the topic about, I don't know, what was going on with like during the last couple of 3 years, and there are situations and conversations happening with a lot of my white counterparts, friends, that did not understand some things that were going on with the Black culture movement. And I listened to now some people I just couldn't listen to. I just no, I, I'm not even trying to listen. It's just too much. But
Yeah.
some people who were really willing to listen to me as well, I took the time to listen to them as well. It had to be right, right. We both have to be
Yeah.
able to speak and to receive what each other is given. But um, it helped me to learn about them as well, like what their thoughts are, because sometimes you can um, perceive for someone to be a certain way. And then when they open their mouths and talk, you're like, oh, okay, it can either be good or it can be really bad. And you learn by listening what, the people, someone's response, what they're saying. And then you're able to clarify with questions after they say something. And that helps you to learn more and get deeper into conversation, which builds a relationship, right? It's some form of a relationship. So that to me took a while to learn, but I'm glad that I'm there in that place that I can actually actively listen to someone. But I feel like the listening part is so good instead of quickly responding to someone, because you're able to understand what they're saying, you're able to learn more about that person, and you're able to not only clarify by asking questions, but also you can, you might find some common ground. Like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, well, I may not agree on that part, but I can understand what she's saying or he's saying on that part. So let's elaborate more on that. But anyway, Frank G is saying something.
Frank
I know
G,
you want to say it, right?
yeah, I want to say what Frank G said, and then I'll go to my point because you stepped on my next 2 points. Like you just said
Oh,
it. I don't know
really?
how you knew, but it's a good thing we're in agreement. We're in agreement here. But Frank G says it's mostly about their life. I still didn't get my questions asked by my stepfather. You know what? And Frank G,
Oh, dang.
that can be really frustrating when you're trying to have a conversation with somebody and they just start talking about something that's irrelevant or just talking about themselves. I think you said your stepfather did start talking about themselves and they never addressed the question that you have. And I know that can leave you feeling empty sometimes or feeling like, okay, so are you going to answer my question or not? Or which way do I go from this point? So I don't know. It's a sad situation when something like that happens because you never feel like you've completely been understood or that you were able to address that question or had that conversation that's needed. And I think a lot of times people miss that part. When they're looking to have a conversation. And Adrian jumped on this. You know, if you're having a conversation with that person you're engaging, you're really trying to learn more about that person as you speak to them. You're trying to figure out what their thoughts are, what their triggers are. Also, their experiences come to play. So you can find out more about that person's background a lot of times and what they think about certain situations. So I'm sad to see that, you never got your questions answered. If he's still alive, perhaps you can try to, have that conversation again and see if he listens. Because like Adrian said, sometimes maturity is vital in conversations like that, or maybe that person is not in the right space to have that particular conversation. And you might
Right.
have to wait till a later season in their life where they're ready to address it. Because I know a lot of questions that my sister and I have had to, like family members, for example. You want to ask them specific questions and you ask, but they're not ready to talk about certain issues at that moment. So
Yeah.
it's something that you feel like you have to put on a back burner and just wait until they're ready because a lot of times they're just not ready to talk about it. It may be
Yeah.
something that's
And
that
sometimes you have to just be okay with not understanding at that moment, like you said, and just pray on it because sometimes there's a lot of things that you may not understand and you ask over and over and it's still not clear, but that is to me, I feel like it's a really good time to go into prayer and say, Lord, help me to understand what that person is saying. Help me to understand what you want me to understand and what you want me to get out of the conversation that I had, and just kind of leave it alone. And
yeah.
if it's meant to bring back up, I feel like the Holy Spirit will press it on your heart to do so.
I absolutely agree. And while we're going to table that for 1 second so I can just see. I want to say something that Steve Gilmore said. So Frank G said, yeah, that's true. Or he said, yeah, true. He also said, yeah. Hey, Tam Tam, I see you. You came in and MC the Yeah, I won't say that. Hello to you as well. But I wanted to go to what Mr. Steve Gilmore said so that the chat can see it. Oh, you all have probably seen it, but just so we can address it. He says, we just have to listen and let the other person speak. That's all. You shouldn't be rude because some people speak faster than others. Yes, that is so true, Mr. Gilmore. If you're still on here, that's true. I was saying earlier that, I had that issue where I'm a faster speaker. And sometimes, like, I guess people have to also be patient with me because sometimes I can speak so fast that some of my words might get twisted. And I'm like, oh, So um, while I speak fast and other people speak slowly, it's almost like we have to have patience. I guess that's the word I'm looking for.
Yes.
Patience in those conversations. And
Hmm.
a lot of times, I guess for me, I should probably not try to have a conversation when I'm in a rush because I'm thinking about trying doing everything else and not really being fully engaged and not being present. And I think that's the
Hmm.
key, just being present when that person is speaking.
Yep.
So that you can engage and also so that you can respond properly. Because if
Right.
you're listening, if you think you're listening to that person and they say something, but you're not fully listening, or you're thinking about the 500 other things that you have to do, you're not going to respond in a proper way. And then they'll be like, "What? What are you talking about? What did you say?" And then it's like,
Yeah.
then that person may get upset and be like, okay, forget it. You're not listening anyway. So,
Uh-huh.
I guess try not to have important conversations when you're in a rush. I know sometimes you can't avoid that because our life is busy. Everybody has something to do all the time. So,
Yeah.
I guess just say,
I
have
was
some.
gonna say prime example with my daughter was talking to a coach who was looking at recruiting her. And I was sitting next to her while she was having a conversation with the coach. And so I wrote questions down for her to ask. I wanted her to carry the conversation or talk to him one on one and me not be a part of it, but I'm still a part of it because I had the questions to ask, to make sure that she finds out, how the school is. So anyway, she's talking to him. She's looking at my questions that I had written on the phone, and she's just ready to ask the questions, but she's not actively listening to him. So I'm telling my daughter, I'm like, hey, make sure you're listening to what he's saying because he may answer some of the questions that are already on here. And you
Mhm.
don't, and if you ask him the question after he's answered that question, then he knows that you're not listening to him.
Right.
So, another part, like we're saying, actively listening, like we have to be okay with it being silent, like with being silent, one, just listening. And then if there is silence afterward, just to kind of process what somebody's saying. And I know I'm not one to, I hate awkwardness. Like I hate awkwardness. I yeah,
Yes.
I cannot stand it, and my husband will tell you too. Like if
Yes.
it's like silence in the room, you hear birds chirping. I'm
You're
just
like,
like,
tweet, tweet, tweet. He's like,
okay,
and you,
okay, so well. Anybody watch that movie Route 6?
right.
I don't know, Route to Just, whatever. Like I'll throw something up in there just because
Yeah.
I don't want to be silent and awkward. And so for people who are out there that's like me, if you hate awkwardness, like I know being okay with silence is really hard, but that's another action that you have to exercise when you're actively listening to someone. You have to be okay with it being silent and not, like you said, like the verse says, quick to speak or quick to respond because you really want to process what someone just said. But yeah, I had to tell my daughter, I was like, listen to what he's saying. And she was like, and he would like, she would ask the question, he would respond to it, and she'd be like, okay, good, good. Now, next question, blah, 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 blah. Like you can't do that. Like you need to respond and you need to respond correctly, like what he asked, how he responds to your question, respond back so he'll know that you're listening to what he's saying. Like you have to be able to, you can elaborate on what he said because what he just said was really good, but now
Right.
you're like, oh, okay, next question, like,
Right.
oh my gosh.
Instead of listening, you're trying to get through your checklist of questions. Like, okay, you might have just said that, but let me say it. I've done that before where I'm like, okay, let me make sure that person, said exactly what I said. In fact, I have my whole list on here of things that I was jotting down and you said it. But hi Buddha, how you doing? I don't want to ignore you. Hi Buddha, always Tam Tam. I didn't remember if I said hi to you or not. That's a really good point though. Also, you were saying about being okay with the silence. I'm also one like that. And we talk about that a lot. If you all were
Yes.
flies on the wall, you would hear my sister and I talk about this conversation a whole lot. Hey Jay, how you doing? Jay Jordan, where we're really,
Hey Jay.
you see, we're really good at keeping a conversation going. And with the two of us, we can just like talk about anything and everything off the wall. We'll jump and talk whatever comes to our mind, we talk about. But we have conversations with other individuals sometimes. If they're
Yeah.
not the same type of person that can keep a conversation going and they're okay with the silence, like she said, it almost feels as if you have to have a conversation filler, and you're like, oh, okay, so how was your day today? How are the children? And then that person's like, oh, okay. And it's kind of difficult to keep the conversation when you have somebody like that. So it's almost as if you're always trying to think about what to say next. And that can be a problem sometimes if that person's speaking to you and you know that they don't continue conversations well, you have to try to think about what can I say next to keep it going. I want to make sure I say hi to everybody. Everybody's saying hi. Hi, Miss Nita Boo. Hey, how you doing? I was in your live yesterday. I had a good time. But so everybody, and hey, Lady T, hey. So we're just talking about good conversations and issues that we've had with conversations, and then trying to improve and how you get better. That's what this conversation is about, this topic today. So if you all jump in, it's okay. Frank has been really engaging, and everybody in the chat so far. So I did want to say something. Hey everybody, hey. Oh, everybody, hey, everybody in here is a dreamer. I forgot to tell you all that. Last year, I came up with that name. I completely forgot to use this. And I know I told Frank G and people like GA Girl that I was going to start saying it. So I'm going to start doing it and using it more. So when you all hear me say dreamers, I'm talking about you all, because you all dream big, and we believe in you. I believe in you, and I know you're going to be great. But I wanted to bring a point up because we were just talking about this, and I was reading it somewhere. And it says the hardest part of any conversation is listening to understand. Most people listen to respond. And I thought I saw something from, thank you, Jay, holding it down. Yes, I thought I saw something from Mr. Steve. Yeah, I did. He says we have to be attentive listeners. But let me ask you all about this. When you're having a conversation with somebody, oh, you know what? I wanted to read something else that I jotted down, and it's about doing our best to understand what the other person might want and asking probing questions when suitable. And I think you touched on this, Adrian, when you were saying, just having those conversations and trying to find out more about the individual and, asking questions to try to gauge where they are, things of that nature. But I also wanted to make a point that when you're having a conversation with somebody, be honest and be sincere when you speak. I think that's a big thing, being honest and being sincere, because sometimes if you're having a conversation with somebody else and you're not being truthful in, what your feelings are, they think you feel one way, but you really feel another way. So then at the end of the conversation, you feel like this conversation went completely left. I wanted to go right, but it went left. Well, it went left because you didn't express your true feelings. Now, me, I found it, I don't really have a difficult time telling people how I feel, but I found that sometimes some people have a difficult time receiving it the way that I say it or receiving what I say. Now, my sister can attest to this. We both grew up under the same household. You all know that. But what we both try to do, not started, what we both try to do is to try to speak in love. And when I say speaking in love, I'm saying if I think that the words that I might say might hurt your feelings, and I'm getting better at this, you all. I'm not saying I'm perfect at this, because I still have some times where sometimes it just comes out. But for the most part, yeah, sometimes it comes out and I'm like, ooh, well, that's what I thought. That's how I felt about it. It was the truth, but it may not have been I might not have been real tactful. I might not have been as soft as I should have been with that specific person, because some people, you can just tell it how it is. Tell it how T.I. is, like our father used to say. He still says that. Tell it how T.I. is. And then other people, you have to kind of watch your tone. You have to watch how you say certain things. You have to watch your words. And I think what Adrian said, you gauge that by knowing that person and knowing the individual that you're talking to. And so I find myself trying to think about, how do I say this? Say it truthfully, but say it in a way that they can receive it. Say it in a way that they can receive it, because you want to be able to have the conversation continue. You don't want the conversation. I've been in conversations where I've said something, the other person has said something, we're going back and forth, and I'm like, wait a minute, when did this turn into an argument? I was just confused as to, I'm trying to have this conversation with you, but now we're arguing. And it just seemed like it just went completely in the wrong direction. And I'm going to read Buddha's A. If you have something to say, Adrian. Having real bad chest pain, but don't know if my neck started. I'm here listening. Hey, Frank, I'm sorry to hear about that, Buddha. I'm going to pray for you. I pray that, everything is better. And I pray that you are no longer having those issues in your chest pain. I'll do it off camera though. I'm just telling you, I'm going to pray for you and pray about the situation, because I want to continue this, because I have a timer on today, you guys, believe it or not. So Adrian is there too. She's a good prayer warrior. She'll pray for you too. Listen, guys, so we're going to keep Buddha in our prayers, Adrian. We're going to pray for her off camera. Mr. Steve, hello. Okay, everybody's speaking, but I thought I saw something. Miss Nita said, hey, Geeky. Hello. Okay, everybody's just speaking. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody's comment, because everybody's comment is important. Jay said, holding it down. What's good? Okay, everybody's just speaking. So, Lady T says, yep, you got to be honest. So I agree with that. You have to be honest. You have to be honest. Did you want to add something, Adrian?
I was going to say, I feel like sometimes too, so just to piggyback on what you said, honesty, yes, is very important because you don't want to, you want your takeaway to be, you want it to be an honest conversation. You want to be an honest conversation. And I feel like if you're honest, it's less likely to be an infraction because sometimes it can, there could be a mix up in conversation if you don't say how you're really feeling and then later on you try to go come back and then change up what you were saying, and then you're like, okay, really, now it's a problem, now you're rupturing a relationship, or just your character too. It's like, okay, so at least, for example, and I hope this is what I hear is the case, and I thank God that people describe me in this sense that, that my character, they know that I'm solid, I'm consistent, and I say things in love. And I thank God for that, because sometimes I feel like when I say things, I know that I always wanted to come out in love, but sometimes I feel like it doesn't. Just like you were saying, like, that is the intent every time, to say things in love. Sometimes I feel like I'm not saying it in love, because I want to make sure that I'm getting my point across. But my kids tell me otherwise, or people, they're like, man, you just said it so nicely. And I'm like, I did. That's what I know is God, because in my mind, I'm like, it may be a topic or something I'm really passionate about, and someone else like is like seriously to the left, and I'm to the, in a disagreement, and I'm like, no, it's this way, and they're like, no, it's that way. But when I always make sure that I am slow to speak. I think about what I'm saying before I say it, and I pray that when it comes out, that it's heard and received in love.
Yeah.
Because even if it's something that's harsh, they can still receive it in love, right? They can still receive it in love, but in truth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And sometimes people, I know sometimes people have to learn the hard way, and you have to say it a more harsh way for them to get it. But to me, I know that all of the time I really do want to, what I have to say to people, and me on the receiving end as well. I want to be able to receive things in love, and I want to be able to give in love. So I always try to think about what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, even if it's something that I'm very passionate about and I feel in my mind it's coming off harshly. But I thank God, after having conversations, and sometimes it don't turn out this way, but after having conversations, they're like, man, I really appreciate how you said this to me. I'm like, oh man, yes. Because I thought
Yeah.
I thought I was really mad.
Right.
You
I thought
know,
I told you. No, no,
right?
right.
Like, oh, you go home, they like, man, I told him, and I told her such and such. And they'll be like, man, it's just so great how you said it. I'm like, really? But
Yeah.
that's what you know is Jesus. Like, really? I
No.
said it like
Oh,
that?
yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because I mean, it's going in another direction for me sometimes. Like you said, that's how you know it's Jesus. Because of Andrea, like sometimes when I'm not tempering my words and I think about what I'm saying, and somebody just says something, I can shoot right off, and then I'm
Yeah,
like, well, it's out. I told the truth about it. It may not have been, watered down. It may not have been as soft as you wanted it to be, but I told you the truth.
yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, maybe that person could not receive it at that moment because of how I said it, because of my tone. But sometimes you just have to take a step back and say, okay, I may have done it that way this time, but I can learn from my mistakes, and this is what I would do differently. Or I can learn from the way that I spoke to that person. This is what I can do differently. And what I'm learning is to give people a little bit more grace. That's something I'm working on,
Oh,
working on,
yeah.
giving grace and trying to think about, not everybody. We had this conversation way back when we started,
Because
Adrian,
that's another form of love, showing love too, right? Giving someone grace.
giving that person some grace. Frank G said, I feel the same way about a comment before. And Nita Boo said, this is a good topic. Thanks, Nita Boo. But giving that person grace, I mean, we could talk about that. That may be another live where you not everybody was raised or reared, is what my English teacher told me years ago. We don't say raised, we say reared.
Weird.
Not everybody was reared the
I
same
like an
way.
old person, right?
You know who it was? It was
Weird.
an old person. It was Miss Chambers, the one that told me to suffer
Oh,
in
Miss
silence.
Chambers, yeah.
Yeah, she said suffer in silence, So that's because I talked a lot then. I talk a lot now. She said suffer in silence. She didn't give me grace, but anyway. So anyway, you
You
gotta
put your old teacher on
yeah,
blast.
I know I would have bust out if she was on here, but you got to give that person grace and consider that they're not thinking the same way that you think a lot of times.
Yes.
They have a different perspective on things. They have previous experiences that make them feel certain ways. And I think that is the beauty and also the difficult part in conversation sometimes because they're bringing their perspective to the table and their point. And then now here you are doing the same thing. You're trying to say, okay, this is what I think, and this I'm trying to explain to you.
Mm.
So at some point, you have to try to, come into an agreement or not even agreement. Like you don't have to agree with everything the person says is talking to you. You don't have to have the same viewpoints, but you should respect what they're saying because they have an opinion just like you have an opinion. Now it's
Yeah,
also up to you to decide whether or not you want to continue the conversation. You might not want to continue the conversation with that person. And it's okay to say, okay,
that's the
I'm
truth.
done. I'm done. I have nothing else to say here. But I'm looking at the time. It's 2:25, y'all. I need to be off by 2:40. I wanted to, Adrian, I'll let you have any last remarks if you have any, but I wanted to invite anybody up if you have something to say in the last 10 minutes. If you would like to join the conversation and express it on the panel, let me know and I'll drop the link over there. But if not, you can just listen to us for the next 10, 20 minutes. What time is it? 10 minutes, a little over 10 minutes, and then I'll let you all go. But yeah, I think it's really important just to, I'll drop the link just in case somebody decides they want to come up and talk. Because you might have a perspective that you want to share with us at this moment. You might want to say,
Mhm.
hey, um, I'm pressing. Here we go again. I'll just take it from the URL, but you might have something that you might want to add to this conversation that can help somebody else out.
Yeah. I was
Um,
gonna say, you know what verse also, this topic also makes me think of another verse. I hate misquoting verse. The power of the tongue is life or death. I know I think I'm misquoting it. The power of, let me see, life and
the
death and the power of the
life
tongue.
and death is in the power of
There
the
we go.
tongue.
Life and death are in the power of the tongue. That makes me think, this topic makes me think of that too, because, and I tell my kids this all the time, you can build someone up or you can break them down. So that's another reason why it's good to be slow to anger, slow to speak,
Mhm.
because even if it's a heavy topic, again, like we've been saying, you want to respond in love because the tongue is like one of the smallest parts of the body, but
Mhm.
it has the most, it has one of the most, is the most powerful, right?
Yeah,
Because you can tear someone down just by saying a word.
yeah.
You think
It's
about you think about God. He spoke existence into this world. That's the power of the tongue. Speaking existence in this world from the creator, and him giving us the authority to say things to others that could be
damaging.
powerful and encouraging, or it can be harmful and hurting to them. So, the importance of the verses that we're talking about in this conversation here, it's so powerful. Just um, thinking about what you're saying and how you're responding to someone and the power that you have that affects someone. You can affect them in a good way or you can affect them in a bad way. And we always, and always to my kids, make sure that you are thinking about, again, what you're saying before you say it. And this applies to me as well. Like, I want to be a person that is encouraging and that's
Mhm.
uplifting someone. I don't want to be a person that is negatively speaking about someone or negatively speaking into someone. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
we are people who we're supposed to go
uplifting.
out into this world and be a light.
Yeah,
And I can't be a light if I'm like feeding darkness into people or
yeah.
feeding negativity into people. So again, that verse made me think of our conversation because the power of the tongue is powerful. Because Oh, and I just saw another verse too. I
Go
can't think
ahead.
of them.
Keep on going.
I just saw another verse. I can't say it word for
You don't
word,
have to,
but
because I know what you're talking
oh
about.
man, it's the one where you're oh man, it just left my mind.
Oh, you come back. That's okay. Well,
Jeez, it just left. See,
it's one that
this
I
is
know.
what happens, right? When the Holy Spirit just takes over. Now we're at the
Yeah,
end of the conversation, of course.
I know. I was trying while you were speaking. I was trying to think about the one about the tongue, about bridling it, and the tongue being powerful, like is it a rudder that, um, and it compares it to a part on a ship or on a sail, that it's a small
Mm.
part, but it controls the way that the boat or ship or
Oh
sail.
yeah,
You know what
yes.
I'm talking about, the verse, but I can't
Hmm.
remember where it is. I'm sorry, you all. You might want to Google it. Just Google tongue in the Bible, and it'll pop up. But it talks about how it's so powerful. It guides the boat. It guides the ship. That's the same
Yeah.
thing with our words. Words have meaning, and I'm doing words
Hmm.
of the week every week, but words have meaning, and you have to be watchful and careful. Like you said, you can either uplift somebody or damage them, and a lot of times you don't even know if you've damaged that person, and it may take
Yeah.
years and years to come out in a conversation. And I like what Frank G said here. I'd rather tell you the truth than to lie to you, even if you get mad at me. That's
Hmm.
that statement right there is kind of what we've been talking about, just speaking in honesty, because you still want to be honest. I hands down, like I never want to try to water something down to the point where I'm not being honest with that person. Because I think what honesty is the best policy. That's what they say. So even if you get upset with me, you know the truth. You know that, I'm saying it. I'm trying to attempt to say it in love. I'm trying to say it in a caring fashion where, your feelings won't be hurt. But I
Yeah.
also have to say the truth, right? I also have
Ooh,
to tell.
ooh, ooh! I just saw the verse. I just saw the verse.
Go, 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 go.
I was like, Lord, give
It's
it to me,
okay.
give it to me.
Say
Okay,
it when you got it. Say it.
right. I was gonna spit it out, but I was like, no, I gotta listen. I gotta
No, you
listen.
don't have to listen. Just say it. We talked about
Proverbs,
listening.
Proverbs 17, which says, even a fool who keeps silent is considered
Wise,
wise.
wise. I
It's
read
like,
that this
how
morning.
powerful is that? So
Mhm.
you could be a fool,
I'm,
but
you
if
know
you're
what?
silent, it's like, man, that dude is
So
you are
sorry.
so wise. It's like, oh
I was
man,
I was thinking, I'm glad you brought that up because that was in my notes too, to say that, because I
right?
read that. I was looking up that um the verse from James, and I was looking at parallel verses, and that was one that came on. Hey,
What? Oh
Pastor
man,
John.
see?
Yep, that was
So,
one that
so
came up.
true.
So I'm glad you said it. You should repeat it. But I was like, and I thought about it, because if you think about it, if somebody's sitting there quietly, you don't know what they're thinking.
Right?
You have no idea what
Exactly.
they're thinking. But
Exactly.
if they are quick to speak and you're saying something, they automatically just and they blurt out something, and sometimes you're like,
Right? Like, what did he just
"That's
say?
that got to do with what we're talking about," or
Mhm. Like,
"How
I don't
did
even know
that?"
what you just said. Like, what?
Yeah, or how did that enhance this conversation? But if
Right.
you are sitting there just listening and taking it all in, you had time to process and to think about what you want to say to that
Yeah.
person. And that's why I'm telling you, I'm working on listening, and I'm learning that it's better if I'm sitting there listening. And like my sister
Mhm.
said, sometimes you got to be okay with there being space and being air, because, like I said, for people who talk a little bit slower, I have to sit there and say, okay, Andrea, focus and listen. Listen to what they have to say. Let them finish, because
Yeah.
like I said, I want to jump in a lot of times, and I cannot. I have to work on that. And like you said, it can come off as rude, but it's not. In my mind, it's not me being rude. It's just me, that thought coming and me saying blah 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 blah. Just trying to get it out before I forget. But I guess it is rude to that person. But I'm glad you said that about. Okay,
Okay. What? Look. What my niece got to say?
I know she said I want to turn. You want to turn? Oh, you want to draw? Okay, she wants to draw. So we have all her supplies right here, handy dandy, drawing and coloring, so that she wouldn't interrupt. So bartending with John, you just came in. What do you think about that? What do you think about sitting there listening? Because like I said, oh, and if anybody wants to jump in the last couple minutes, let me know. I put the link in the chat. You should see it. I can pin it if you all don't see it. I'll pin it. No, don't put using timeout. Pin it. Okay, I think it's pinned. I'm not sure. We'll see. But John says cheers to all. So yeah, Adrian, I was thinking that same, reading that same thing where it said, um, even a person who's sitting there basically being quiet is known to be
Mhm.
wise, like you. Because, and I thought about that. I was like, that's something I've heard it plenty of times before, but when I read it today, it hit differently. Like, okay, I guess so. If you don't know what to say to somebody, if you don't know what to say, you can look at this in a couple different ways. We know how it is. If you
Hmm.
read the Bible, it's your interpretation may be different when you read it. I'm saying you interpret it the way that God gives it to you, and this was my interpretation. Like, if you're sitting there and you don't know what else to say, you sit there. And you can be considered a wise person because you haven't opened your mouth to let that person know that you're a fool. You could be a fool,
Yeah.
but nobody knows it because you haven't said anything. Or
Yeah.
you could be somebody who's just taking it all in to know how to respond. And
Right.
you might be sitting there trying to formulate your thoughts, or you just may be actively listening to
Yeah.
that person so that you'll know what to say next, so that you can add to the conversation, and so that you can.
And can I say something to add on to what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I think it's important too to not spend your listening time with someone who is foolish. Can I just put that out there? Oh, okay, I just
Yes,
want to put that out there. The fact that if you're just like sitting there really and trying to, appease someone there, like really talking foolish, like you have just
foolishly.
wasted my time. I just there, like you said, like you're not bringing anything to this conversation. You're not, and then like just like when we're listening to music, and I tell my kids this, and I do this for myself. Like what we hear
Yep.
is planted seeds, right? So if it's positive or negative, it's getting into our spirit. So if someone is talking foolish, I don't have time. Like,
Right. I agree with you with that.
I'll
Now,
talk to you later. Take care now.
it's time to end this conversation.
Yeah, it's just time to end the conversation.
It's
Just like I don't want to, I mean, I know that I have some stuff on TV I watch and it's just junk, and I'm like, man, this is really entertaining. But I do try to limit, like I have to sometimes step away from news, like take a hiatus because it's just too much negativity and I can't take it. Like my spirit just cannot take it. And it's the
yeah,
same way with having conversations with people. Like, you know who to surround yourself by, you know who's going to speak positively, and you know who's going to speak negatively. And you don't want that negative energy in your spirit, because again, a seed that is planted that as well is also a seed of negativity that can be planted, and you don't want that because it's in your spirit. Next thing you know, you're talking about it. You're like, man, where did I get that from?
yeah.
Oh, you got that from, old Joe that was talking crazy.
Right. You know what? That's important to mention. And guess who else? John agrees with you. He gave you a thumbs up for that. Derek, I see you coming in. Thanks for coming in. Yaya, hi, how
Hey,
you doing? She said, hey. And I saw someone else come in. I think I said hi to Derek, just Derek's journey. If I didn't, hey, Derek. So yeah, that's a good point. Like, if somebody is speaking foolishly, you don't have to sit there in that conversation. You can politely dismiss yourself. I've done it. I can't even tell you how many times. Okay, no, this conversation is not working for me.
how many times you did that? You said you don't know how many times. Huh?
A lot of a lot of time. Not in my now life, but in the past.
Right,
Like,
right. People just
no,
be speaking foolish.
just talking
Because
off
you
the
because
wall.
you I know how you are, because you try to be kind and people just start chopping up some foolishness. You're just like, okay, what did
You
I
just
get myself
and
into?
that's another time when that conversation goes left and you just say, okay, well, you just put that finger up like you do in church. All right, see you later. This conversation is
Right.
not for me. Because what I will not be afraid to admit you all is that I guard my heart heavily. And when I say that, the people who, who you know what I'm talking about. If I'm saying that this is for you, you guard your heart heavily because, like she said, even if you're watching the news or television, something like that, listen to something specific, music, whatever it is that disturbs your soul or disturbs you, you turn it off. Just turn it off. And this is what I'm talking about guarding your heart. Don't listen to it.
Mhm.
You don't want foolish things entering. You don't want to be have any negativity entering that, your space.
Yep.
If somebody is coming to you in a negative with a negative attitude and speaking in a way that you just don't like it, it's okay to just bow out. You don't have to stay
Mhm.
there. That's your opinion, and it's your right to say good luck. Well, goodbye. I'll see you later. Maybe on another day, but not today. Maybe on
Yep.
another day, but not today. We're not gonna have this conversation because I don't want to have it. Number one, and number two, I don't understand what you're talking about, and it doesn't include me. I don't.
Right? Let's just be real. I don't understand what you're talking
I
about.
don't understand what you're talking about and where you're going with this. Maybe you can try it again. We can circle back. But if we circle back and I still don't know what you're talking about, it's just time to end the conversation.
Yeah.
Not because I'm trying to be rude, but because, like I said, I guard my heart. I'm not listening to certain things. I don't want to be a part of certain conversations. I'm really protective with who I'm around. Amen, sister. Do you see who's joined? Thank you very much,
Uh,
ELC.
I
Um,
can't see the comments until it's on the screen.
okay, I want you to see what Frank G says. Sometimes I have to take a break from social media too. Absolutely, Frank
Yes.
G.
Yes.
Social media, I
Absolutely.
mean, this could be a part two to this conversation because you all know I had to go in a
Right.
little 5 minutes. So this can be a part two, but Frank G, absolutely. Social media is one of those things too. If you're watching something on social media, just doing this, click, 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 and you see something that's strange or weird and
Mhm.
you can't get with it, bypass it. It's a whole bunch of other things on
Yeah.
social media. We have motivational content. You have content about Jesus. If that's what you like, I do. I love Jesus. So, find something that makes your heart leap, that makes you happy. You don't be consumed with trash and don't be consumed with, the negativity. It's a lot of that happening right now. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to, let me see. Oh, he's saying hi. Derek, I got to go get my son, but I'm leaving this up. Thank you, Derek. I appreciate that. Have a safe travel to get your son. Still here, sis. Okay, Nita. Yaya said that comes with maturity and knowing who you are as well. Yes,
Yep.
Yaya. Definitely comes with maturity. We were talking about that earlier. It comes with maturity. You have to know who you are. We'll do another live on that, sister. You got to
Mm.
know who you are. You have to know who you're speaking to, and you have to temper. We were talking about tempering your words. You have to watch the words that are coming out of your mouth. And again, I know I'm not perfect. I'm still growing in that area. So like I said, at least I'm honest. If I say it, at least that person can't say she's a liar. At least I was honest about my comment. Amen,
Yeah.
sister. Thank you very much, ELC. You know this person, Adrian.
Oh, ELC, I do.
Yeah. Uh-huh. We'll have that conversation later. Frank G was laughing. You
Look,
be
I
like,
know
"Hi, girl."
what is Frank G laughing at?
I know Frank G is laughing. Okay, I have 4 minutes, you all. We're going to wrap this up in 4 minutes. You be like, girl, bye, or bye, girl. You be like, bye, girl, or you be like, have 10 seats, like have several seats, because
Yes.
what you're talking about, I don't wish to be a part of. And like I said,
Mhm.
what do you think about that? Like, you can dismiss yourself from a conversation. You don't have to be a part of it.
Yeah, yeah, so you'd be like, "Bye, girl." I know.
I like that. Yeah, yeah. Bye, girl. Girl, what was that? Bye, Felicia. Have 10 seats.
Yep.
What else? Whatever you need to say to end the conversation. I mean, you don't have to be
Mhm.
nasty. You don't have to be nasty about it. You can say bye, girl, like you said. And
Yep.
some people might see that as nasty. I don't. If somebody says that, I'd be like, well, I understand exactly what they're talking about. Because
Mhm.
sometimes when people say things, even in the conversation, you might be like, girl, bye. And they know what that means. Like,
Mhm.
I don't want to have this conversation with you anymore. Yeah. So anybody else have anything to add before I have 3 minutes left? I have 3 minutes left. So if you'd like to add anything more, I don't want to just close the chat or this live down because I had a wonderful time with Adrian Brody on this panel. Thank you for coming, sister. I appreciate you deciding, when I
Yes,
asked,
this was
asked
fun as
always
usual.
fun, always a
I
good
know
time.
it's always nice to be on here with my sister.
I know. And if you
Thank you
all
for
wonder
letting me come.
what she's like in real life, this is her in real life. These are the type of conversations we have in real life. And if we're on the phone, if we're in person,
Mhm.
we're listening to each other and engaging and giving our opinion honestly and
Mhm.
just having feedback. And that's what we just want you all to be a part of. So I hope you all enjoy the topic for today. If you have anything more to say, and I have to close this down in 2 minutes. If you have anything more to say and you can't get it in the chat, go back to this video and just put it down in the comment section. Put
Mhm.
it down in the comment section, and then I can reply if you're saying something specifically. See, there I go again, get my words tied up. Specifically to Adrian, just say for Adrian Brody or ask her the question specifically, and I'll get it to her. Or she'll rewatch this video and she can look at the comments because we're sisters and she can look at whatever. So,
Mhm.
if you have an extra comment, put it down there. If you like this today, let me know. Hey, Cooking with Tracy, thank you for coming in. I'm glad you're coming in. Unfortunately, I have to leave in 2 minutes. I'm on a timer, but go back and replay this. I think you'll really enjoy this conversation. Let me know what you think about it. It's not that long, less than an hour. Let me know what you think about this conversation.
You
If you
did a
have,
good job with the time.
thank you. I know for
We were concerned for a minute. We were like, "Ooh."
I know we were
Enough
concerned.
time?
We,
Yes, it
I
was.
did it. I'm getting better, y'all. I'm getting better. See, if I keep going live, I'll learn how to do. I'll get better and better each time. And with you all, with everybody's help, I'll get there. So yeah, if you're just coming in, I really really appreciate you coming in. I appreciate all the dreamers for being here. I appreciate Adrian Brody for coming in and having this conversation with me and having my back because, like I said, it was last minute and she was just ready. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'll do it." So give a hand for Adrian. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you for coming.
Give a hand for Age. Give a hand for Kiki Girls Journal. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
You're
And hey,
funny.
Scratcher P. Scratcher P, sorry, I had to go. I got to go pick my daughter up. So I'm on the time limit. I had to leave in about 30 seconds. So if there be nothing else, we're going to pass the church plate. Boom. No. No.
Mm,
So if you all have any questions
that's the church
again,
play.
if you'd like us to talk about any other topics, please just go to any video, specifically this one, because I'll know I sent you there. Come back to this video and just leave any questions in the comment section. If you want to talk about something, a part 2 to this or anything in addition to this or another topic, let me know at the end of this video because I'm looking forward to seeing what your replies are and your responses. All right. If there's nothing else, Adrian, anything else?
Nope. Love you guys. Be good.
Love you all. Be good to each other. Love each other. And remember that you are wonderful. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You were created for a time such as this. And God loves you. And so do we. I said we because she's on here. So do we. And be who you are. Be exactly who God created you to be. Don't deviate for anybody. We do grow and we can tweak some things, but be your authentic, beautiful self because there's only one of you. And we would hate not to be able to enjoy you being
That's
yourself.
right. That's
All right.
right.
So
Yeah.
if there's nothing else, I will see you all in the next live or the next video. Have a great weekend. And thanks, Adrian. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Oh, she said bye to you. Want to say bye? Okay. The daughter said bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good day, everybody.
Have a good day.